another episode of the JockTalk podcast. Matt, along with Brock. Brock, how are we doing today?
Great. It's football week.
That's right. We got Kansas City and Houston on Thursday. We got college football going today and all weekend. So, the bright side of 2020 is finally starting.
True.
So today for you guys, we got an all Packers episode. Brock's got the Jaire, Alexander, Aaron Rodgers jerseys in the background. Got the Packers hat rocking today.
Got the GOAT.
Got Vince up top. So it's going to be a good show. We'll talk about a little bit of everything. Obviously, roster cuts just happened the other day, so there were a couple of surprises there. Otherwise, we'll talk about what the Packers need to do to improve to hopefully be Super Bowl contenders by the end of the year, which is obviously the goal of every team and the hopes of every team's fan base.
Unless you're Jimmy Graham.
Or Jacksonville Jaguars, apparently, with them getting rid of almost literally everybody except for the mustached Minshew. So with that being said, you pointed out the other day when, no surprise now, but Jake Kumro got cut. You sent me the text that the report came out that Aaron Rodgers thought he was one of 4 receivers to be a lock to make the roster. It was part of Carlos's opinion that Aaron Rodgers is pissed off and will be a Bear eventually. That they're just kind of doing stuff to make him angry now. So they're disrespecting him by the Jordan Love pick, to lesser extent cutting someone who he thought was going to be a lock to make the roster. I don't know. What do you think about the whole situation?
I mean, yeah, you want to please your star at all times. I mean, you even look back to the last couple of years, even letting Jordy walk, and just getting rid of him without even talking to Aaron. You saw Aaron's displeasure just off that, and now one of his more of his reliable targets, and you cut him. It raises questions, and rightfully so. For the media to look at that, maybe the Packers are trying to get rid of Aaron Rodgers earlier than his contract, just because, he is getting up there in age. We all know this. He's on the back 9 of his career, but I hope that's not the case. They're trying to get rid of him, obviously.
Right.
But signs are saying they possibly could be, and it's kind of sad to see,
Yeah, for sure. My personality as a whole is I like to be the devil's advocate for any reason, and I've seen a lot of people on Twitter talking about how Kumro's had 2 big games in his entire life, and they were all because of one catch in each game, and they make a fair point, but I think for him it goes beyond the stats. For him, it's like you said, it's a receiver that Aaron Rodgers trusts. We hear it all the time about A-Rod. He's a big proponent of throwing to receivers or having people on the team who are good practicers. By all accounts, Jake Kumro is one of those guys who was, really good in practice, and to have that chemistry, which is something that Aaron hasn't had a lot of with his receivers outside of Davante Adams for a few years, Allen Lazard late last year, but Equanimous was hurt all of last year. MVS has been up and down. Sometimes he shows flashes, and the next 4 games he disappears. So it's just one of those things where the lack of continuity, you hear about it all the time on the offensive line, but we've seen it in the past with James Jones, Randall Cobb, Jordy, that Aaron can just give them a look and they know what's going on. And if he doesn't have that with his receivers, you can't expect him to play up to the best of his ability.
Yeah, that would have been extremely nice to have a first-round talent wide receiver, because, you can start to build that relationship, and you have obviously one of the top 3 receivers in the league in Davante Adams, and to put someone, obviously a rookie, right next to him and learn from him, that just makes it better for the future. We could have brought in a quarterback next year. He's still going to learn from Aaron, Yeah. But Davante, you need wide receivers to grow. Wide receivers are few and far between when it comes to big splashes. You get those late round guys that produce more, not necessarily all the time, but obviously there's those exceptions where you have these first round talents that are studs and you can't miss prospects. But then once you get in those later second, third, fourth, I mean, it gets sketchy, and it's like a lottery lottery.
Yeah,
You don't know what you're gonna get. You're either gonna get a star or you're gonna get a bust. And to pass up on a wide receiver at this stage of Aaron's career is very weird, just because he is getting older. He's not as mobile. He needs his wide receivers to get open, and if they can't get open, I mean, Aaron Rodgers, he's a perfectionist. We know this. We've seen it for X amount of years, and if you're not open, he's going to be pissed at you, and you're just going to be shit out of luck. And to bring in a quarterback, first round quarterback, and it's just a strange choice. But I mean, like I said, I've told people before, I was like, I hope for the best for Jordan Love. I hope he is our next quarterback. Like, you don't want to, if you hate Jordan Love, like,
you're not a Packers fan.
Exactly, you're not a Packers fan. You have to like him because you want him to be the next one. We like Matt Flynn. We liked we brought in Deshaun Kaiser. We're like, oh, he's got upside. Brett Hundley, oh, he's got upside. Obviously, they're not his replacement, but
Seneca Wallace.
Yeah, Seneca. Vince Young. But it's at this stage of his career, he needs weapons, and to pass up on the weapons just doesn't make sense. And now, obviously, we have these young wide receivers, young tight ends that have the promise, but this year they have to step up. MVS, you said. I think we're both big fans of Jay Sternberger.
Oh yeah,
big fans. Even how do you say Josiah DeGuara?
Oh, Josiah DeGuara. Part of the best young tight end core in the NFL, if I don't say so myself.
That's what you said. But we need, I mean, EQ to step up. Even Tyler Ervin, they have him as a running back, but we have him I think of him more of as a Randall Cobb type player. He can do a little bit of everything for you. He's going to return kicks. He's going to line up in the backfield. He's going to line up in the slot. There's just we have the young talent. It's just now they have to step up. They're going to play. A lot of these guys are going to play, and we, as a Green Bay Packer organization, we expect the best of our players, and we want the best for them. And if your number's being called, we expect you to perform. And it's time for not just offensive guys, but there's a lot of defensive guys that we need to step up as well.
For sure. Before we move on to this next thing, I know, over the last few shows we've agreed a lot, but I'll say I disagree with you over the fact that they should have picked a first-round receiver. Yes, it would have been nice to have, a Jalen Reagor or Brandon Ayuk or Justin Jefferson, but just the fact that they didn't pick a receiver in the first 3 rounds, look at all the second-round receivers in the past between, Devontae, Jordy, Greg Jennings, James Jones, all second-round and later receivers. The Packers had been, I should say, great at developing and finding talent at the receiver position, but we started hitting on it with the receivers, obviously, but the first subject that we want to talk about today is the Packers' position of need. So obviously, receiver, if you ask any even casual Packers fan, it's probably the Packers' biggest area of need, but something that's kind of telling based off of the roster cuts. They only kept 5 wide receivers on their entire roster. So obviously, Josiah DeGuara, tight end, fullback hybrid. Obviously, A.J. Dillon, big, massive thigh, power back. We know Matt LaFleur's what he wants to go as his style of play is, he wants to be a running offense. So that was the biggest surprise for me just as a whole from the cuts is that they only kept 5 receivers. You're looking, people can ask, or people can say, oh, we need wide receivers. But then, just thinking to yourself, who's out there right now? Obviously, you could say they should have drafted somebody, and that's just the easy answer. But you want nutcase and Antonio Brown on the roster? Would he be instantly the second most talented wide receiver the Packers have? Absolutely. Is it worth all the mess and all the headache? You know, everyone's gonna have a different opinion on that, but
Yeah.
I don't think so.
I wouldn't pick up Antonio Brown, but I mean, if he came up and said everything's dropped, it's just me and football. Of course I'm gonna take him, but it's never gonna be that with Antonio Brown. So that I don't want to bring him in for that reason. But like you said, he is a great talent, and any team would it would be an upgrade to have him at the wide receiver core, but you take that risk of cancer in the locker room and just a distraction and just, oh, I can't wear the helmet. I need my helmet. Like, just go and play football. He's not about playing football. He's about getting the paychecks, and it's kind of obvious now.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, you're just looking at the wide receivers who are available right now in free agency. Taylor Gabriel, he's never really done much in the NFL, but he's, you think about it, he might be just what the Packers need, short speedster. You got guys like Paul Richardson who got cut. Mohamed Sanu got cut by the Patriots. Old ancient Demarius Randall, Demarius Thomas. Speaking of Demarius Randall, he got cut again, so another wasted first-round pick by the Packers, but that's a different story for a different day.
He played so well the first year, though.
Yeah.
But then he just, sucks.
Yeah. So, like I said, just looking at, there's not really a lot available through wide receivers. You could explore the trade market. The Packers aren't a team who typically gives up draft picks, though, which is, it's been a big thing going back, as long as I can remember at least. But outside of wide receivers, positions of need, in my opinion, inside linebacker, they have a lot of potential there. There's the rookie Kamal Martin, who, from all sounds of things, having a really good camp, someone who they are really high on, but got hurt, unfortunately, but still made the roster. You got Christian Kirksey, someone who actually they signed in free agency, who I like. And then, Oren Burks from last year showed some potential. Couldn't stay healthy, unfortunately. But I think middle linebacker, inside linebacker is probably the second biggest position in need. What do you think, Brock?
Yeah, I think we need depth. I mean, you named off Oren Burks. Ty Summers is another guy. Dijon Harris they brought in. They like him. Is
that like the mustard or?
Maybe. Or Dijon. I don't know how to correctly pronounce his first name. But yeah, that's definitely another position to watch, especially in the early season. We haven't had any preseason to work out kinks. We haven't had all these games, all these practices, the joint practices, anything to kind of see what we do have. It's all against the same people every single day. I mean, we know that doesn't really necessarily work out a lot. And then this first game against the Vikings could be an absolute shit show for both sides. Not just Green Bay. It's going to be a mess. Or it could be the greatest thing we've ever seen. But
remains to be seen.
Exactly. I mean, both sides of the football, or both sides of the field. I mean, Vikings and Packers. I mean, you go through the whole league, you got all these new faces and new places. How does Jadeveon Clowney fit the Titans? How does Jamal Adams fit the Seahawks? Fournette with the Bucks. I mean, the Bucks have on paper a great team, but without these practices, it's really hard. Or all these preseason games, even if it's just 2 preseason games, it's hard to measure how much you actually have, and it probably was even that much harder to make cuts because you don't have the game film. Because game is different than practice. I mean, sure. all these linebackers for us could be great in practice. Come game time, their reliability we don't know yet. So this year is going to be interesting to see because of everything going on and the lack of practices and the lack of games that you can actually play throughout the season. I mean, I was telling a bunch of people, I was like, man, football season's next week. Like, it starts next week. Like it does not feel like it. Like, usually you go outside like that first preseason game, you're like, smells like football outside. But this year is like, oh, it's September, it's football time. Wow, like it came up quick.
Yep.
But I mean, we talked about other players that need to step up. A couple people that I have written down. Rashawn Gary, I think he's going to have to take on a little bit bigger role, just because of the fact that are they going to push him inside just to help? Because I mean, like our depth isn't there in the inside, but the edge rushers, we got Darius, we got Preston, we got Kenny in the middle, we got the D line and the edge rushers, but maybe they slide Rashawn Gary because he's an athlete, like he is. We've seen it. He's fast. He can cover maybe that like edge that on the like a third down edge rusher, just pin his ears back, make his job easy instead of having him running around guarding slot guys or something or the other. But that's one guy that I really want to see step up this year, along with Kevin King in a contract year. I think he played very well at times last year, but it's time to make that next step if you actually want that big contract this year. And I think he's going to be a player to watch and see how well he does with this limited practice, because I mean he has had tendency to get hurt or like tweaks and out every other game, and he needs to play the full 16 game season to lock up that big contract, because he has the talent. I mean, we've seen glimpses of it against the Vikings even and against other teams. So
yeah, I mean, since you stole my Rashawn Gary pick for players who need to step up, you know, I'll take a guy I hit on a little bit, Christian Kirksey. It's a guy who's been getting a lot of hype from the coaches. They're high on him. It's a skill set that the Packers haven't had at inside linebacker in quite a while. Just someone who can run is basically it, and who's a competent football player, who's not just a pure athlete. But yeah. So he's another one. And you mentioned Kevin King. We talked about this a little bit before the show, but Jaire Alexander, I know he's one of your favorite Packers currently. Carlos can never say his name right. It's always Jaire Alexander for some reason. But you know, he's too inconsistent to be a top 3, top 5 corner that he definitely has the potential to be. He makes big plays all the time, but he still gets burned too much. He still makes mistakes in the zones, and that could be, you know, just from you know, it could be his safeties behind him messing up, but it looks like him messing up on tape, or just a miscommunication, or like you said, just him being overly aggressive. But he needs to take that step up and eliminate the mistakes to be, you know, that next great lockdown cornerback.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he's definitely. I agree with you that he has been over aggressive, and he gets caught peeking in the backfield a little too much. But I mean, he's still a young cornerback, so yeah. I mean, those are things that can get worked out, and it's
for sure.
It's on the tape. I mean, we all see it. I mean, we watch the Packers enough to see that he gets burnt sometimes, but then at the same time, he has the closing speed to make up for getting burnt or biting on a double move or this, that, and the other. So it's promising to see. I think he would, to make that like that big next step. I think Adrian Amos and Darnell Savage need to have big years. I think Savage could be due for a very solid season. He had an underrated rookie year, I think. He played very well. He was pretty consistent. Had a couple injuries that might have dinged him up a little bit towards the end of the season, but overall he had a good year to build on for this year. And Savage to be with Amos and learn from Amos. I think if they play more consistently, obviously, I mean, out of a rookie, you only can ask so much. But if we get a little more consistency behind Jaire and Kevin King, this could be another really solid year for that secondary.
For sure.
And I think that's something that Jaire really would excel off of, is premier safety play, because it gives him that now then the confidence to come up and make more plays. And do I have to take that extra 2 steps back just to help my safety, or can I just go and make the play? So it's going to be interesting to see, because this defense, obviously losing Blake in the middle, a veteran middle linebacker for us, he knew the system and everything, but this is just another year for a very, very solid defensive group. Even last year, we had that debacle in the NFC Championship game, but you look outside of that, they played above average for what we've seen the last few years from the Packers defense. And for the Packers defense to step up even more this year, because we got Zadarius, who is a great leader, becoming I think already a Packer favorite for a lot of young fans, and even longtime fans like us. I think we can agree that Zadarius is one of the greatest leaders that defense has seen in quite some time. And I think it's infectious towards the young guys around him, especially that secondary.
Yeah, I'll tell you this: if the Packers defense is the reason why they don't make the playoffs or make a deep run in the playoffs, Mike Pettin will be fired.
Yeah.
Him coming in, it was all about, getting him weapons. We talked about getting Aaron Rodgers weapons, but Mike Pettin has no reason not to have the Packers defense, top at the very least, it is super conservative, top half of the league kind of defense.
Yeah.
In total defense, they have playmakers to get turnovers between Kevin King, Jaire, the 2 safeties. You got the Smith brothers. Turnover should be a huge thing for the Packers. Hopefully, getting them in easier or more manageable field position. But and then the last thing I just have of players who I think you need to step up, Brock. I didn't say a specific player, but wide receiver 2. Whether that's Alan Lazard making that next step, or if it's MVS taking that step forward that we seen that flash out of him 2 years ago. I don't think either of us expect Equanimous to be that wide receiver 2, but they just need that wide receiver 2 to be a legit number 2, and not someone who's putting up wide receiver 3 numbers. So I think that's the last thing that I have, at least in terms of positions of need / players who need to step up.
Yeah, I think the whole league knows that Packers' weaknesses are their inside linebackers and wide receiver core. So for one of these guys to step up, they have to, like you said, they can't be that, I got 30 catches this year. No, you got to be in that 50, 60 range, 6 touchdowns, let's say.
Right.
And it's got to be number 2 numbers. You can't have 2 guys with 2 touchdowns, 22 catches, and 310 yards. You need big plays. Like Devontae can't always be that guy, because they're gonna double him. They're gonna make you beat him with somebody else other than Devontae. Obviously we have Aaron Jones coming out of the backfield is great, running back, and out of the backfield he catches a lot of passes. Then you got Jamal Williams out of the backfield, but even the tight ends. You can put those tight ends in the wide receiver core as well, because of how LaFleur runs his offense. Right. He likes to spread tight ends out a little bit. So Jace, Big Dog, Mercedes, Josiah. We got guys that
Big
can
Rob
spread out.
Tonyan, don't forget about him.
Yeah, exactly. We got 4 tight ends on the roster right now. 4 tight ends, 4 running backs. They have to contribute into the passing game just as much as the wide receivers, because we know LaFleur's offense. Yes, he wants to ground pound. It's becoming more and more obvious that that's what he wants to do by keeping 4 tight ends, 4 running backs, A.J. Dillon coming in, Josiah. You can kind of see it turning into a power and big play. Big play. But to have those big plays, we can't just have Devontae. You got to have, like you said, Lazard needs to step up a little bit. Everybody's got to take that next step, and it's got to be almost instantaneous, because of the fact that we didn't have the preseason games. So it's a growth spurt that needs to happen very quickly now, and
For sure.
it's gonna be a fun season to watch, though. I'm very intrigued because, like I said, there's not even much film on the practice squad and seeing what they have. So it's going to be interesting to see this year for the Packers, especially that young wide receiver core.
Yeah. We brought this topic in our last show, or this segment in our last show. And for me and you, it was a tough conversation. We were talking a little bit pre-show of trying to narrow it down, but what we're talking about next, something new. We're going to go straight into our top 5. It's going to be a segment every single show. If you guys have ideas, input, share us your top 5. This week, top 5 favorite Packers of all time.
Not greatest. Our personal favorites.
Yes. Could be one
Don't
reason or another. Me and Brock did not talk about this pre-show in terms of who we have on our list. We want it to be a surprise. I swear to God, if Brock has Jimmy Graham on his list, I will quit this podcast and never be back. But we'll start it off. My number 5, number 74 for the Green Bay Packers, defensive end, Aaron Campman.
Okay.
It's just one of those things where it's right when I was getting to the peak of my football time as a teenager. He wasn't very good for very long, but he was really good for 2 or 3 years or so back when the Packers ran a 4-3 defense. So my number 5, that's right. My number 5, Aaron Campman. Who you got?
That's a solid pick. I'm going my number 5. Jaire Alexander. I've been high on him since draft day when we drafted him. I mean, I talked about him. That's who I wanted in the draft. We picked him. I jumped for joy. I was like, this is the guy that he's got the charisma. He's got the aggressiveness. Like, all he's going to continue to do is grow. And I hope we can lock him into a good contract because I think he is a young star in this league, especially in a league that is getting taken over by corners. If you look at it,
yeah.
There's a lot of lockdown corners, and I'm glad he's on our team.
Yeah. Little side note here. Do you know who I wanted the Packers to pick in the first round when they drafted Jaire?
No.
Josh Jackson.
Well, we both did. We both did.
That is why we are doing a podcast and not running the Green Bay Packers, I suppose. So.
I mean, they picked him though.
Yeah.
They ended up picking him,
Yeah.
But I said let's get Jaire, and next round we'll get Josh Jackson, and that's what we did. And look at us now. I mean, Jaire's still top tier. Josh Jackson is barely hanging on by a thread.
Yeah.
I don't even know how he made. I don't know how he made the cut.
My number 4, I had to narrow it down. I'm sure it's a guy who you're going to have higher on your list. Again, it's a guy who's going to go into the Hall of Fame for another team. My number 4, Chuck Charles Woodson.
That's a great player right there. That is he was all over the field. He was the biggest difference maker that I think the Green Bay Packers have almost ever had. That we've seen in our lifetime. How about that?
He was one of the biggest causes in bringing the Lombardi back to Green Bay.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, he was quite the player. But my number 4, Double D, Donald Driver. Like,
okay.
He was just Mr. Consistent all the time. Like, he was undrafted, came in and just worked his ass off, and it was just awesome to see. Like, you ask anything from Donald Driver, he is consistent. Slot, outside, you threw it to him, he's catching it. He'd break tackles, he's running, he's faster than you thought he was. Like, he was just very shifty and just always gave 110% on the field and just the biggest smile that you could ever see. And he was just great for the Packers wide receivers, especially with when we had Jennings and Jordy and Jermichael. Like, that was just a great wide receiver core. And He could have easily went anywhere else in the middle of his career after what him and Brett and then him and Aaron did. It's just he stayed with the Packers, and it was just awesome. Number 80.
Yep. Surprisingly, I don't have any of the Packers receivers on my list. It could have been, like I said, it was a tough cut down. But at number 3, the greatest Packers running back of our generation, at least, out of Nebraska, Amon Green.
That's my number 3. That's my number 3. That was like, yeah, he was something to watch. Like, he was after Dorsey. I mean, I didn't see much of Dorsey, but then Amon Green and then we had such a carousel of running backs. I mean, he was the level of consistency that we could have asked for a Packers running back, and it's good to see. That's why I like Aaron Jones. Is like, it reminds me of the old Amon Green days, and he was just a really fun Packer to watch. The turf sleeves.
Yep.
I think it was an iconic Packer of all time. He is also my 3.
All right, so skip right to number 2. You kind of ruined it earlier. He's turned into kind of a weirdo since he's retired from the NFL. My number 2 is Kabir Bajia-Biamila.
That is a solid pick. I could never say his name as a kid.
Yep. It's easier to say KGB, but just the bookends. Again, not a player who was great for a long time, but someone who was really, really great for a short period of time, and he's just a tank. Just this yoked up, bald dude, just wrecking offensive line. So KGB is my number 2.
My number 2, the bad man himself, Aaron Rodgers. Like, to not put a quarterback on this list, either it being Brett or Aaron, is almost criminal, because we've only had 2 quarterbacks in our lifetime. In our lifetime, exactly. I mean, we've had spot starters, but just to see the level of talent Aaron Rodgers has been so consistent over the years, even sitting behind Brett. I mean, he was willing to do that, and then came in and tore apart the league. Just the arm talent, the smarts. If there's ever a quarterback with 0 interceptions in the league, it would be Aaron Rodgers. He threw 2 last year, 2, and both of them were off his wide receivers' hands.
Yep.
So yes, he's thrown some that probably should have been picked off, and they aren't. That's not his fault. but catch the ball. But it's just to see Aaron Rodgers and the things he can do inside and outside the pocket, game to game, no matter the weather, no matter the injury. Like, he is one of the most impressive and just quarterbacks of our generation by far.
My number 1, number 12, from Cal Berkeley, Aaron Rodgers. Like you said, the amount of times that I've seen him make throws that I've never seen anyone else make, that when I thought the Packers were out of it. I remember the game against the Cardinals however many years back, where there's the throw to Jeff Janis, and then was it another throw to Jeff Janis?
Yes, it was.
Was it 95 yards in 2 plays or something ridiculous?
Yeah.
The Hail Mary against the Lions to Richard Rodgers. I remember I was at work.
Me too. I literally ran throughout the whole store.
Yep. I almost broke my hand slapping the table. Just it goes on, and just like you said, the stuff that we've seen him do. As Packers fans, we're spoiled in the fact that we've seen 2 quarterbacks in the last 20 years, 30 years almost. Damn. Between Brett and 25 years probably between Brett and Aaron. Brett could have easily have been on this list, but there's just something about Aaron that just tops the list for me.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, obviously, I have him at 2. He could easily be 1, but you know me. I'm a defensive guy.
Yep. I know. Yep. Mm-hmm.
Mr. Charles Woodson. And like I said, I touched on it earlier. He made plays all across the field. He would be weak side corner, come across the field and make a tackle or punch the ball out. Just anything that you needed to. If we needed a stop and they were passing the ball, Charles Woodson was there.
Yep.
And it was just, it never failed. Never failed. And that Super Bowl run, he broke his collarbone in the Super Bowl. If he could have played that whole game, I guarantee you it would have been a blowout.
Yep.
Because he was locking everybody down. He like I said, always gave 110% on the field. Never let anything go. Like, he was brought in as a liability. He did not want to be in Green Bay. And then that Green Bay culture kicked in, and he became, obviously he's going to go in as a Raider.
Yep.
But I think some of his best times were known in Green Bay through 5 years,
yep,
whatever it was, and just my favorite Packer of all time.
All right, real quick here, I got my honorable mentions for you. Player who I wish I could bring back right now, middle linebacker, Oregon State, Nick Barnett. I got some love for the fullbacks, not John Kuhn. William Henderson.
Oh,
big old neck roll.
Yeah.
And then I got real quick 2 defensive tackles. Give some love for the big guys. We got BJ Raji doing his sexy belly dance.
Yeah.
And then I have another Packer known for his dance. I got the grave digger Gilbert Brown on the list as well.
Great Packers. I mean, just even your honorable mentions just brings me back. It's like,
yep,
we had some great players, and obviously you didn't even name Brett.
Right,
you didn't even name Brett. Brett is in my honorable mention. Nick Collins I honestly think if he never had that neck injury, could have went down as one of the best safeties of all time. He was on pace for ridiculous numbers out of Bethune-Cookman.
Yep.
He was a player, and Leroy Butler gave him the number 36 and said, "Make it proud," and he sure did. And he could have been one of the greatest to ever do it. And then the flex, Clay Matthews. I mean, he was the hair flip, the everything. I mean, we could go on and on of all-time favorite players. I mean, we could have a list of 50, and I could have named off 50 Packers, and no doubts about it. And we didn't name Jordy. One of both of our favorite Packers, easily.
Yep.
Greg Jennings.
Yeah, he's had some
questionable,
attention-grabbing statements now that he's in the media, to say the least. I considered putting Bakhtiari on there. Man, he's just someone who you want to go drink a beer with. Yeah. I mean, he'll drink it way faster than you will, but he just seems like that dude.
Al Harris, Mike McKenzie.
Yeah.
Who else? I could go on. That's the next episode. Just name 100 Packers. That's it.
Moving on, our next topic is going to be our predictions for the Green Bay Packers season. With that being said, I have my best case scenario and my worst case scenario and my actual. I'm just going to go through them real quick, see what you think, Brock. Best case scenario, Packers go 14-2. They got some tough games. They got the Saints. They got the Bucks. Division games are always tough, no matter how terrible the Lions and the Vikings secondary as a whole are, or the Lions as a whole and the Vikings secondary. But
Bears quarterback play.
Right. If the Packers go 14-2, Aaron Rodgers plays at a pissed off MVP caliber level. Yep. Aaron Jones scores another 15+ touchdowns, and the Smith brothers get 10+ sacks. I think if all of that happens, Packers go 14-2, make a deep run in the playoffs, if not make it to the Super Bowl. Worst case, Packers go 4-12. They have a lot of tough games on the schedule. Say Aaron Rodgers gets hurt. Aaron Rodgers demands a trade, God forbid. That's my prayer thing. Say the O-line struggles. We talked about new faces earlier, Yannick Ngakoue and Daniil Hunter in the same on the same defensive line is going to be tough. So let's say that the offensive line struggles or gets hurt, that's a recipe for disaster. And then the final thing for the worst case scenarios, if the defense gets no pressure up front, Jaire can't be aggressive. If they get ran on for 255 yards in a game by someone, Raheem Mostert, it's just recipe for disaster.
Yeah.
Overall, my prediction for the Packers is 12-4. I think Jaire does become that consistent top lockdown cover corner. I know I had some criticisms for him earlier, but I think he does make that step. Just like, Stephon Gilmore, he's been a really good corner for a long time, but this past year, he just took it to the next step, being the DPOY, and I think that could be the pace, maybe not necessarily this year, but the pace that Jaire is on. And then with that said, I think for the Packers to be good, I think, Davante Adams just needs to be, for me, Davante Adams needs to be the Packers MVP. Because if Davante Adams is the Packers MVP, regardless of if it's Aaron or Jordan Love or Tim Boyle, for God's sake, if Davante's out there producing, the Packers are scoring points. So overall, my actual prediction, I got the Packers 12-4. I honestly, it's a little bit of fandom here going on. I think they make a deep run in the playoffs again.
Yeah, I mean, you look at their schedule top to bottom. We do have tough games early, but the one factor is nobody has fans. So, I mean, that Vikings game at Minnesota, it's not like it was last year. It isn't. I mean, that natural fan noise is just something different. So, I mean, even in Green Bay, is a home game really a home game now with no fans? It's going to be weird. Because I mean, we go to Tampa, we go to Houston, we go to San Francisco. So it's like, are those games going to be as tough as they would be if there was fans? Obviously not. Even like I said, vice versa. You bring anybody into Green Bay, no fans in Green Bay. I mean, we know that's one of the best fan bases, if not the best fan base in all of National Football League. It definitely is. Don't worry.
In all of professional sports.
Ooh, bold statement there. Bold statement. But I'll agree with that. Except there's some college.
Just real quick before you go on. That's true. Just imagine how many imagine how many offsides Aaron's gonna draw this year with no fans.
That's what I'm saying. That's like, everybody's gonna be jumping offside.
Forget about it.
Yeah, I mean, you look at the first. What I'm looking at, the first 8 games are our toughest. Then you go in the back 8, and it's not as bad. You got the Bears, the Titans, the Panthers, the Lions, the Eagles, the Bears, the Colts, the Jaguars. After that 49er game, it looks promising. It does. So what my prediction is for the Packers is 13-3. Like I said, or like we always say, no division game is safe. I mean, we could easily lose to the Vikings week 1 or week 6 or whatever it is. I mean, Houston's a tough game. 49ers is a tough game. Bucks probably will be a tough game. I mean, you could throw the Colts in there being a tough game as well, just because, I mean, it's Phillip Rivers, but
the offensive line
is maulers, and then probably by then JT will be there. Hey, there's teams there that give me some concerns, but I have the confidence that we will beat them. Like even the Titans. I mean, Derrick Henry's an animal in himself, and then you bring Jadeveon Clowney to that defensive line, which was already a really good defense, and now you bring him in with Vrabel being the coach. I think that could be a very a trap game towards the end of the season. If
Mike Vrabel inspired my look for today.
That's why I was hoping so. We don't want you to look dirty anymore. It looks like you just got done shooting your own little show back there, if you know what I mean. threat level midnight probably.
All
But
threat
yes.
level, you're midnight.
Oh, but I think 12-4 is a very attainable record for the Packers. I mean, like you said, we need the wide receiver core to step up. I think Aaron Rodgers at 12-4 would easily be MVP because of I think the season that he could have at 12-4.
13-3.
Or 13-3. Sorry, I was thinking of you 12-4.
Yeah.
But even at 13-3, I mean, you have to put up stats to be 13-3. And I mean, we're both big fans of Aaron Jones and Aaron Rodgers and everything. So if Aaron's putting up numbers, we have the lead a lot. And then if Aaron Jones is putting up numbers, we probably still have a lead a lot. So I think it's going to be a good season. Like I said, deep run in the playoffs. I mean, there is some teams that scare me. Seahawks. They always creep up on us, and it's very annoying. But 13-3, Aaron Rodgers MVP type season, and it's going to be a fun season to watch for the Packers.
All right, we ready for this next segment?
The best segment of the day.
The segment that is sweeping America.
I'll drink to that.
I'll drink to that. All right, so as you guys should know by now, I'll drink to that is our bold prediction. If we agree, we drink. If we don't agree, we drink. We're from Wisconsin. We drink. So with that being said, mine is player specific. Rashawn Gary, 12+ sacks.
Woo!
Book it now.
Woo! He's playing a lot?
Rashawn Gary, 12+ sacks.
12? I don't agree with it, but I'll drink to that. I hope for it. Obviously, I hope for it. That's playing a lot. That is Preston Smith or does Darius get hurt?
Nope.
Oh, he's just playing.
Yep. They'll find. They're gonna scheme him onto the field. Mike Pettin knows he has to get his best players on the field. Who cares about Dean Lowry?
Dean Lowry just goes in there. I go tackle football. Hey, that's all you need. I'll drink to that.
Rashawn Gary, 12+ sacks.
As you did, player specific. I will also do player specific. Like the kid, Jaire Alexander, will be in the conversation for Defensive Player of the Year. Easy money. Easy money. Guaranteed 5+ picks, 2 touchdowns.
Okay.
3 fumbled force, and a fumble recovery, and 3 sacks. Pettin's putting them all over the field. Book it.
All right. That's
no rebuttal.
No. I said it earlier. I think Jaire takes the next step to become a consistent lockdown cornerback. I think it's a year early for that prediction, but if either of our predictions come true, the Packers are Super Bowl contenders to not be messed around with. So,
ain't that the truth?
With that being said, we are going to be done for this episode of the Jock Talk podcast. You guys can follow us on all the social medias, facebook.com/JockTalk Show, on Twitter @JockTalk Show, on the Instagram @Jock.Talk. I don't know whatever this Tic Tac thing is, Brock.
JockTalk Show, everything. We'll put everything in the description. Go like, subscribe, follow, comment, share with your mommies and your Grammys.
If you don't, I'll haunt your dreams.
You already haunt my dreams, so I'm already scared a little bit.
It's a dream, not nightmare. So
it is a dream. Any dreams, it could be a good dream, bad dream. No nightmares.
All right. With that being said, guys, we'll talk to you later.
Go
As
Pack
always,
Go.
go Pack Go.